Anger does not explode suddenly. It accumulates quietly. It builds every time you feel ignored, every time someone crosses a line and walks away untouched, every time your jaw tightens, your chest burns, and you tell yourself you're calm when you're not. Most men think anger makes them dangerous. Japanese warriors knew the opposite. A man who reacts emotionally is easy to control, predictable, exploitable. Right now, if someone insults you, pressures you, disrespects you, your nervous system decides your response before your mind does. Your body moves faster than your awareness, and in that moment, you are no longer choosing. You are leaking power. Somewhere ahead in your life, there is a critical moment waiting for you. A negotiation, a confrontation, a decision under pressure. And the version of you who fails in that moment will not fail because he's weak. He will fail because anger reached his muscles before discipline reached his mind. Ancient Japanese warriors feared this more than physical injury. They called the antidote fudoshin, the immovable mind. Not calmness, not suppression, immunity. By the end of this video, you will understand why warriors did not try to manage anger. They removed its authority entirely. This is stillness and direction, where men learn to stand unmoved in a world designed to provoke them. If you are done being ruled by emotional reflex, subscribe now. This path was never meant for everyone. Now listen carefully. Modern culture teaches you to either express anger or suppress it. Both are traps. Expression makes you loud but weak. Suppression makes you silent but brittle. The warrior chose neither. Fudoshin was not about becoming emotionless. It was about refusing to let emotion decide timing. Anger is energy, and energy without command is chaos. The samurai understood that the real battle was not against the opponent, it was against the moment before reaction, that fraction of a second where most men lose themselves. In that moment, anger offers a false promise: react now and feel powerful. But every instant reaction carries a cost: lost respect, broken strategy, permanent consequences. Power that reveals itself too early is power that gets countered. Fudoshin was trained so deeply that provocation could enter the senses but never reach the core. Insults landed and died. Pressure arrived and dissolved. Fear knocked and found no door. This was not talent. It was conditioning. Warriors drilled stillness into their nervous system the same way they drilled sword strikes into their muscles, because they knew something brutal. You do not rise to the level of your intention. You fall to the level of your training. If your training is reaction, you will react. If your training is stillness, you will remain. And the man who remains unmoved controls the tempo of every encounter. Before we talk about techniques, before rituals, before discipline, one lie must be destroyed. The lie that anger is your strength. In the next chapter, you will learn why anger feels powerful and why that feeling has been keeping you emotionally fragile without you realizing it. Anger feels powerful because it creates speed. The moment anger rises, hesitation disappears. Thought narrows. Doubt goes silent. For a brief moment, you feel decisive, certain, dangerous. This is why most men mistake anger for strength. But the samurai understood something that modern men rarely confront. Speed without clarity is not power. It is recklessness wearing confidence. Anger compresses your perception. It strips away options and leaves you with only one response: reaction. That rush you feel is not dominance. It is your nervous system hijacking your judgment. And the body loves it. Adrenaline surges, heart rate spikes, muscles tense. You feel alive. But warriors were trained to distrust anything that felt good too quickly, because anger always demands payment, just not immediately. It costs you timing. It costs you foresight. It costs you control over how others read you. A man ruled by anger shows his cards early. His enemies don't have to guess. They wait and counter. This is why the most dangerous men in history were never the loudest. They were silent. Anger is reactive energy. It only exists in response to something outside you, which means the moment anger controls you, someone else is setting your tempo. The samurai found this unacceptable. They believed the man who controls the rhythm of an encounter controls the outcome. Fudoshin was designed to reclaim that rhythm, not by killing emotion, but by delaying expression until choice returns. Understand this clearly. Anger is not wrong. Immediate anger is. When emotion bypasses awareness, you are no longer acting. You are being acted upon. This is why anger feels strong but leaves you weak afterward. You say things you can't retract. You commit to paths you didn't calculate. You reveal priorities you should have concealed. And once revealed, power cannot be unrevealed. The warrior trained to let anger rise and die without ever touching his actions. This is the difference between men who explode and men who endure. Modern men are taught to let it out or hold it in. Both methods keep anger in control. Fudoshin removed anger from the command chain entirely. Emotion could inform, but it could never decide. This required something uncomfortable, stillness under provocation. Not passive stillness, active restraint. A restraint so strong that opponents mistook it for fear right until it was too late. The samurai did not rush confrontation. They allowed others to exhaust themselves emotionally. While one man burned energy reacting, the other conserved power observing. And when action finally came, it was clean, deliberate, and irreversible. This is why anger feels like strength to the untrained mind, because discipline takes longer to build. Anger is immediate. Fudoshin is earned. And here is the uncomfortable truth most men avoid. If anger feels necessary for you to act, you are not disciplined. You are dependent. In the next chapter, you will learn how warriors trained their nervous system to stay still while others lost control, not through meditation myths, but through brutal, practical conditioning.
The samurai did not trust motivation. They trained reflex. They understood a brutal truth most men ignore. In real pressure, your mind does not lead, your body does. When provoked, the body reacts in milliseconds. The mind arrives late and lies to you, pretending it chose the response. This is why promises like "next time I'll stay calm" fail. Calmness is not a decision, it is a conditioned state. Fudoshin was built by training the nervous system to remain neutral under threat. Not relaxed, neutral. The samurai exposed themselves deliberately to discomfort, cold, exhaustion, pain, confrontation, until the body stopped treating stress as an emergency. They called this becoming familiar with chaos. Because what the body recognizes, it does not fear, and what it does not fear, it does not rush to escape. Most men live sheltered nervous systems, comforted, stimulated, never tested. So when pressure arrives, a raised voice, disrespect, uncertainty, the body panics. Anger appears as a shield, but it is a fragile shield. The warrior trained differently. He learned to pause inside the body before the mind spoke, not by counting to 10, not by positive thinking, by anchoring awareness where reaction begins. Breath, posture, stillness. When anger rose, the samurai did not argue with it. He did not suppress it. He observed it physically. Tension in the jaw, heat in the chest, pressure in the hands. And by observing it without movement, he denied it momentum. This is critical. Emotion needs motion to grow. Without motion, it collapses. Modern men pace, clench, speak, scroll, feeding emotion with constant micro-movements. The samurai froze the body first. Stillness was not weakness, it was dominance over impulse. They practiced standing motionless while insulted, while fatigued, while watched. The goal was simple: teach the body that it could survive discomfort without reacting. Once the body learns this, the mind followed. This is why Fudoshin feels unnatural to modern men. It demands you remain present in discomfort without escape. No distraction, no reaction, no release. Just awareness. And this is where most men fail, because stillness reveals something uncomfortable: how little control you actually have. Anger distracts you from that truth. Stillness exposes it. But exposure is how discipline is forged. The samurai believed that if you could stand unmoved while your body screamed to act, you owned yourself, and a man who owns himself cannot be controlled. This training changed how others perceived them. People sensed it. Provocation stopped working. Pressure lost leverage. Because nothing is more unsettling than a man who does not give you the reaction you expect. In the next chapter, you will learn how Fudoshin reshaped identity itself, why men who mastered stillness stopped needing validation, dominance, or approval, and why anger slowly lost its grip, not through force, but through irrelevance.
Anger survives on one hidden fuel: the need to be acknowledged, disrespected, ignored, challenged. Anger rises not because something happened, but because something was threatened: status, ego, identity. The samurai understood this with ruthless clarity. A man who needs validation can always be provoked. A man who needs dominance can always be baited. A man who needs approval can always be controlled. So they trained to remove the need entirely. This is the part most men misunderstand about Fudoshin. It was not emotional strength alone. It was identity discipline. Modern anger is not about danger. It is about image. Someone cuts you off. Your image is threatened. Someone questions you. Your image is threatened. Someone ignores you. Your image is threatened. Anger rushes in to defend the image. But the warrior asked a different question: who am I defending? If your sense of self depends on how others treat you, you are living externally, and anything external can be taken. The samurai trained to locate identity internally, not in reputation, not in dominance displays, not in emotional victories, in conduct. They believed a man was defined by what he did when no one could force him to behave. Stillness under insult was not tolerance, it was independence. When provoked, the untrained man thinks, I must respond or I lose. The trained warrior thinks, I do not need to prove what I already am. This is why anger fades when identity hardens. If nothing can be taken from you, nothing needs defending. Fudoshin removed the hunger to win every interaction. The warrior no longer needed to dominate conversations, raise his voice, or assert emotional superiority. He chose his battles because he was not desperate, and desperation is always loud. This shift terrified opponents, because they could not locate the lever. Insults failed, pressure stalled, threats lost weight. Not because the warrior was fearless, but because fear had nowhere to attach. Anger needs a hook. Identity is that hook. Remove it, and anger has no grip. This is why stillness feels threatening to others. They sense the absence of need. A man who does not react is a man who does not require permission to exist. Most men unconsciously outsource their self-worth. They borrow it from wins, reactions, approval, attention, and anger protects that borrowed identity. The samurai burned the contract. They accepted something modern men avoid:
temporary loss of comfort for permanent independence. They allowed others to misunderstand them, to underestimate them, to test them, because they no longer lived to correct perception. This is the moment anger begins to starve. When you stop needing to be seen as strong, you begin to become strong. When you stop needing to be respected, you start commanding respect through presence. When you stop defending identity, you free energy for action. In the next chapter, you will learn the final transformation, how a man with Fudoshin moves through conflict, pressure, and life without emotional turbulence. Not passive, not detached, but decisive at the exact moment action is required.
Stillness does not mean inaction. It means delayed action until certainty returns. This is where most men misunderstand Fudoshin. They imagine a calm man who avoids conflict, who absorbs pressure quietly, who never strikes back. The samurai would have considered that weakness. Fudoshin was not about avoiding confrontation. It was about choosing the moment of force. A man ruled by anger acts early. A man ruled by fear avoids action. A man ruled by discipline acts once and ends it. The warrior waited not because he was unsure, but because he was watching. Every provocation reveals information, tone, timing, intent. The emotional man misses all of it because he is too busy reacting. The still man gathers it effortlessly. This is why Fudoshin created decisive men. They did not hesitate when action was required. They hesitated before it. By the time they moved, the decision was already complete. This is the difference between explosive force and controlled violence. Anger explodes. Discipline strikes. Anger feels strong because it is loud. Discipline feels quiet because it is efficient. The samurai believed that unnecessary movement was wasted life. They trained to remain neutral until alignment occurred, mind, body, and intent moving together. When alignment arrived, there was no doubt, no second-guessing, no apology, no emotional residue. Action was clean. Modern men often regret action because it was born from emotion. The warrior never regretted action because it was born from clarity. This is how Fudoshin transforms conflict. You stop arguing to win. You stop reacting to defend ego. You stop escalating to feel powerful. Instead, you let situations mature. Pressure builds on others, not on you. While they rush, you refine. While they reveal, you conceal. While they burn energy emotionally, you store it. And when you finally speak, move, or decide, the moment shifts. People feel it immediately, not because you are louder, but because you are certain. Certainty is unsettling. A man who knows when to wait also knows when to end things. This is why Fudoshin created reputations without explanation. Others called it composure, restraint, coldness. The warrior called it freedom. Freedom from urgency, freedom from provocation, freedom from emotional debt. Anger puts you on a timer. Discipline removes the clock. And here is the truth that completes the transformation. Once you experience action without anger, you will never want to return. Because anger-driven action feels chaotic in hindsight. Discipline-driven action feels inevitable. In the final chapter, you will learn how to live permanently in this state, not as a technique, but as a way of being. How Fudoshin becomes your default, your presence, your silence. And why men who reach this point are no longer shaken by the world, they shape it. Fudoshin was never meant to be activated only in conflict. It was meant to become your default state. The samurai did not enter stillness when things got hard. They lived there permanently. This is what separated discipline from technique.
A technique is something you remember under pressure. An identity is something you cannot forget. By the time a warrior faced conflict, there was nothing to manage, no breathing trick to recall, no mantra to repeat. Stillness was already present. This is the final transformation most men never reach. They learned control as a response. The warrior became control as a presence. This is why anger lost its power completely, not because it was suppressed, but because it was unnecessary. When your baseline is calm certainty, emotion has nothing to correct. The samurai structured their lives around this principle. Simple routines, predictable discipline, minimal excess. Not for aesthetic reasons, but because chaos weakens stillness. They guarded their energy ruthlessly. They avoided pointless arguments, unnecessary drama, emotional entanglements that pulled them outward. Not because they were fragile, but because they were precise. A sharp blade does not crash into walls to prove strength. It stays clean until needed. This is how Fudoshin extends beyond anger. You stop rushing decisions. You stop explaining yourself. You stop reacting to noise. Your presence slows rooms down. People speak differently around you, not because you demand it, but because uncertainty rises in them. They cannot read you, cannot predict you, cannot pull reactions from you. This creates a subtle authority modern men misunderstand. Authority without force, without volume, without emotional display. The samurai knew that power expressed too often becomes background noise, so they expressed it rarely, and when they did, it mattered. Living with Fudoshin means accepting one hard truth. You will be misunderstood. Some will think you are cold, others will think you are distant, a few will try harder to provoke you. Let them. Stillness filters people. Those addicted to drama fall away. Those who respect control draw closer. Your circle shrinks, your influence expands. This is the price of emotional independence, but the reward is something most men never experience: inner silence. Not emptiness, clarity. No inner arguments, no delayed regret, no replaying moments in your head. You act when needed, you remain still when not. Life stops feeling reactive and starts feeling deliberate. This is what the samurai meant by an unshakable mind. Not invulnerability, but self-ownership. Anger no longer drives you. Fear no longer rushes you. Approval no longer tempts you. You move at your own pace. In a world addicted to reaction, this makes you dangerous, quietly. If you are ready to live this way, not occasionally, but permanently, then walk this path with intention. This is stillness and direction. And this discipline is not for everyone. It is for the man who is done leaking power and ready to stand unmoved. End.